Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Zach Young, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're joined by Wes Wyatt, founder of iEureka and host of the Market You First podcast. Wes is a coach who specializes in helping clients sell themselves, not just their product or services. With his unique approach, he guides entrepreneurs and professionals to find their authentic voice and create powerful personal brands. Wes's passion for coaching and marketing shines through his work, inspiring others to have a dynamite day and build meaningful connections. Wes, a very warm welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you very much for having me on today.
Absolutely. So I like to start from the beginning a little bit. So before you started iEureka, what were you doing and what was really your inspiration for getting it started?
Before doing podcasting and social media marketing and all that, I have been in lots and lots of different roles that were in tech support, customer service, security. I'm a big guy. I'm a WWE kind of size guy, about 6'4", 370, big guy, and security was definitely fitting for that. But then moved into customer service, lots and lots of just more technical support, customer service, and always had this computer stuff in the background. I saw that AOL the other day stopped their dial-up after I think 34 years or something of that nature. And I actually was online, I think 8 years before AOL was even a thing. I've had a computer in my house pretty much since the mid-'80s. And so I was always doing something with online. Getting into the online world officially happened way back when I was a kid.
Love it. Love it. So that's your journey getting you to this point. Could you walk us through what you're doing now? What is iEureka? How do you work with your clients? All that good stuff.
So far as iEureka is concerned, I started it because I was working what I thought was going to be a dream job. It was a dream job. It was a nightmare. I actually had taken a job for a social media location, and every day just is one of those places where literally, I'd like to let you know, somebody took me aside and said, "You will cry within the first couple weeks." And I didn't, luckily. I also wasn't there very long enough to probably get to cry, but they took me in the office after a trip with my daughter to Washington, D.C. as a chaperone, which I had cleared with them first, and said, "Come in the office and tell us all about it." And when I did, they asked me. It was right about the time that Negan had showed up on Walking Dead, and I walked back in the door, and my wife said, "Did you forget your lunch?" And I said, "No." I said, "I just got Negan." And she goes, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I just got let go. It ended up being a situation where it was not planned, but everything fell into place, and I started doing social media for myself and brought on a couple of incredible clients who are still clients today, and brings you to where we're at.
Perfect. I'd love it if you could dive into what do you do exactly with your clients? Social media marketing, are you helping them optimize their Facebook, Instagram pages? Walk us through that process.
Started off with Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter back then, now X, and kind of morphed into when COVID hit, people still needed a way to be able to talk to their clients, but yet weren't able to talk to their clients face to face. A friend of ours, a client of mine, I should say, and friend, said, "I just don't know what I'm going to do." And I said, "Why don't you do a podcast?" And that particular podcast is called Building Wins. And it was a gentleman named Randy Chafee, who was a shake hands, kiss babies guy. When he would come in, he would schmooze his customers. Now he had no way to do that. We started doing the Building Wins podcast. That's one of the podcasts I told you about offline that has been going over 4 years, every week, never missed a week. One of my other clients, same situation. How do we talk about safety when there's no one to talk to? You're not allowed in the factories. You're not allowed in the facilities. So how do we go through and do this? That particular company is a safety floor mat and signs company. They were responsible for a lot of the stay 6 feet apart and follow these arrows. And so even though COVID was hindering their business, it was also booming at the time. So that one's called Warehouse Safety Tips. And so we moved in from going and doing social media marketing, which when is exactly what you said. I'll loop back to what you asked about making sure that they had a presence, that people were seeing them every day on social media, but then it gravitated into doing the podcasting.
So would you say podcasting is your main, would you say, what's word am I looking for? Is it your main driver with your clients, or is it a popular one at least?
I think it is now, and you and I had spoke again off before we started recording. We have between myself and my clients over 800 podcasts now that are in the podosphere out there, whatever you want to call it. Over 300 with both of them, and then my personal making up the rear with several hundred podcasts already done. So yeah, it definitely drives, and both of those podcasts are very, one is probably anywhere from about what you said, the people's attention span is normally about 20 to 40 minutes for one, and then with warehouse safety tips, it's much shorter. It's a probably about anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, and it's something that is meant to be absorbed during a safety meeting, pre-shift, post-shift type situation that keeps safety top of mind. And it's really amazing, Zach, because a lot of people don't do podcasting. They don't do lives at these events. You'll walk around a trade show and you'll maybe see one or two people doing podcasting every now and again. You'll see a setup where they are just doing nonstop podcasting. They'll usually have all four walls covered to keep the noise down, but it's very few and far apart. It's very sad because if you really look at the before mentioned podcasting, or the podcasting plus the before mentioned social media platforms, you've got essentially I remember as a kid, I went and saw Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater, and he had a pirate radio station, and everybody that saw it was like, man, I would love to do that. They were in that mode. And now you have a radio station, you've got a TV station, you got a newspaper, you got book publishing, you've got everything at your fingertips, and yet you don't see people using it. You can borrow someone else's technology, stand on the shoulder of giants, and get your message and your brand out, but you just don't see a lot of people doing it even now, which is just crazy.
Absolutely. Every business these days, they have a Facebook page.
Yes.
Most of them have an Instagram page, but you find not any of them at all really doing a podcast. So that's why you think it's such a great vehicle for your clients to use.
It is, because you can go on there and quite literally, even if you do it in a very sneaky way, and I don't ever want clients to think that they're being sneaky because they're not. But with Warehouse Safety Tips, the sponsor of Warehouse Safety Tips is Mighty Line, which is the safety tape and floor sign company I was talking about before. And even though we want safety in these locations, the real reason that we use the podcast is to drive traffic to Warehouse Safety Tips, is to go to Mighty Line. Everything that we do is some way, shape, or form trying to drive traffic back to Mighty Line. And so you can go through and provide real information. It's all very relevant OSHA safety tips and tricks that people can do, but it is meant to drive traffic. So yeah, it's just amazing that companies don't take advantage of the social media platforms and the podcasting, because it's essentially free. They pay me to do it because they don't have the time or maybe the knowledge to keep up with everything. But at the end of the day, it's still free, and they're paying someone to facilitate all the inner workings of it. And I'm constantly amazed at the fact that people don't use it.
Absolutely. How are you advertising the podcast?
It is essentially word of mouth more than anything. I'd like to tell you that we're out there posting thousands of dollars worth of ads. We're not. We are definitely taking care of organic stuff. And with both those podcasts, it is putting it in front of, in the case of Warehouse Safety Tips, safety professionals, anybody that has any safety coordinator, maintenance supervisor. So anybody that is going to be on a safety team or culture is put in front of them. And so they share it because we might recognize somebody that is doing something great in safety, and then they're going to share it with their team because we featured them. They're going to share with their team because we put something out that was very relevant to their particular shop, or whatever the case may be with that. With Building Wins, it's primarily for people in the building industry, but the wins portion of it is authors, consultants, just anybody that's out there, speakers that are out there promoting themselves. And you said it at the beginning, but with my company, which is iEureka, the market you first concept is I coach people to sell themselves, not what they sell. With all those people, whether they're the coach, the author, the speaker, the person that's actually in the building industry, our whole idea is what are you doing to differentiate yourself from the crowd? And that's what we try to pull is the wins, the stuff that Randy could go on about the stuff that he does in building, but with his he does to differentiate himself above and beyond all the other people selling that stuff is what we're trying to eke out of people and squeeze out. What do you do to differentiate yourself from the crowd? Because in the noisy world, we want to help people become the brand owner. And if you don't know that particular term, or your people listening or watching don't know the term, that's where you go from being a cotton swab to a Q-tip, from being facial tissue to being a Kleenex. And you want to, anybody can sell tissue paper, but in order to be Kleenex, you're going to have a heck of a row to hoe. Same thing with a Q-tip. You can sell a cotton swab, but people are going to say, bring me a Q-tip, not a cotton swab. And they may not even be talking about bringing a Q-tip. They just want a cotton swab, but they call it a Q-tip because they've got that name pounded in their head. So with Randy, his whole thing was, I got to be a differentiator in the building world. How can I do that? And that's exactly what we do is we try to draw that out. What are you doing to, in the safety side, be safe? And in the building side, what are you doing to differentiate yourself from your competitor?
Absolutely. He's becoming a Q-tip. That's all
He's
it is.
become a Q-tip.
Love it. Looking towards the back end of iEureka, how are you currently going about finding your clients?
This is a very cocky thing to say, Zach, and I apologize. When you're not hungry, you're not like out there actively hunting. I love the work that I do, but right now I'm 57. Don't let the black hair fool you. This is just for men. I'm Santa Claus white. But the right now I'm not really bringing on new people, so I'm not really out there trying to build that part of it. I'm in the process of writing a book around building wins and the market you first concept. And so the future for me is going to be hopefully sitting on a stool either by myself or with my partner Randy, talking about whether it's building wins, whether it's market you first, consulting and telling people how to go out there and quite literally sell yourself, not what you sell.
Absolutely. I love that. When did the book idea first come aboard?
The book idea has been out there for quite a while, probably about, I'd say, a good 3 years. And where it come about was there are so many people that are out there that are not doing that. Let's just look at the resume, for example. When you send a resume, you're going to say all the usual suspect things. You're a people person, you're all the different things that you put, and you're going to put your references and all the different experiences and the jobs that you did and everything. But at the end of the day, people don't want to hear that. They want to see something that stands out. So right off the jump, we're going to teach people how to like do something a little different to get the attention, and then go through and differentiate yourself by the wording that you do. So as an example, if you were a janitor, you might call yourself like a custodial engineer or something of that nature. And I know that's silly, but that's the stuff that will catch people's eye and be like, custodial engineer, why'd you put that? And the reason why, they'll say, I did this and this to stand out. And next thing you know, they go from being that person that is almost invisible to most people to, hey, that's that guy that stands out and does things above and beyond. They're always happy. They always have that attitude. And that kind of leads into that whole have a dynamite day thing that you talked about there for a second. I call that choose your fuse. And what I mean by that is, are you going to be the person that has a long fuse that is constantly happy and always upbeat? Or are you going to be that person that is always, you can see the fuse going to the end and about ready to blow? Because there's both and everything in between. The book come from wanting to go out there and deliver that idea in print so that I have something that there's a guy out there named Miles Monroe that has passed away many years ago that was a pastor in the Bahamas. And one of the things that he said was that the richest place in the world isn't the diamond mines or the oil fields, it's the cemetery. And the reason why is because that's where all the stories that weren't told and the I love yous that were never said. And so his whole concept is you should die empty. The books and the idea of putting that into a hardcover, softcover version is to die empty and just leave a legacy out there of the ideas that I have.
Love that. Do we have any idea as to when the book will come out?
Probably, I'd say first or second quarter of next year. Realistically, I'm wrapping up some of the images and things I'm going to be using and the ideas. Randy has just put out his first book, Asphalt to Algorithms, which is my partner that I do Building Wins with. And then he and I are out working on another book that's called The Closers, probably volume 7, with a gentleman called Ben Gay the Third. And when I say Ben Gay, people always think of the cream. He is essentially a Zig Ziglar of this world. He come up with Zig Ziglar and Earl Nightingale and Paul Harvey and some of the greats of the past. And he is quite literally a living legend. So if you guys don't know Ben Gay the Third, look him up. He's got a book called The Closers. And Randy and I are going to be writing volume 7 of The Closers with Ben Gay. We got lots and lots of stuff, which is another reason why I'm not bringing on clients right now, is because between my books, the book collab with Ben Gay and Randy, the book collab with Randy, we're a little busy.
Absolutely. Sounds like we got a best-selling author on our hands. That's for sure.
Hopefully I'll be able to talk to you later as a published author, maybe a couple times over.
Absolutely. Come on when the book tour starts. I'm sure you'll be hitting a lot of podcasts when the book comes out.
Yeah, lots and lots of stuff going on.
Love it. Love it. Hey, you hit my last question already, which was, what are the plans for the future? Sounds like you have some great plans for the future. So I'll end with this one. Yeah. If you had one tip you could leave with business owners on how to stand out, what would that tip be?
The biggest thing is look at everything as a nail. Okay. So if you're a hammer and you're out there, your job is to look for nails. So how are you going to hit those nails in a way that other hammers can't? Yeah, so that is everything from attitude to the way that you present yourself. You talked about something earlier, and that is everyone has a Facebook, everyone has a Twitter, everyone has this. The truth of the matter is everyone doesn't, okay? They probably don't have it, and the reason why is because they don't feel that they are at that level. So as an example, a insurance company may not have a TikTok, all right, because they're like, I'm not going to dance and do crazy stuff. But the truth of the matter is, it's the same reason why McDonald's has Happy Meals, okay, and play areas back in the day. They don't really have them anymore. But they wanted to bring on future hamburger and fry eaters, okay? So they knew they had to target the kids because those kids were going to grow up and be adults and cycle out over and over again. You need to come up with something that is going to differentiate you from your competitors. You might go through and say, something to the effect of, and I'll use my wife as an example. She used to sell tools for a company called Grainger. Grainger has got a book this thick and it's like Bible paper. They sell everything from caskets to paper products. I told her, I said, don't go in trying to sell everything. Go in and try to sell one thing. Get a foot in the door, go into them and say, listen, I'm not asking you to get rid of XYZ. I know they've been with you forever, but there's something that you and I can work together with. And if it's something that I offer, give me a shot. Give me your worst product, your worst art project. Give me your worst whatever, and let's see how I can handle it. And if they are willing, they're going to say yes. If they're not, be a nectar collector. Be a bee. If you go to one flower and it doesn't have pollen, buzz to the next one. Keep doing that. You're going to find somebody that's going to say yes. And when they do, go out there and knock it out of the park. And then you're going to be much more likely to be able to find other areas that you can help. And you will probably go from being the one that was that crazy person that went in there and said, give me your worst product or project, to being one of their most sought after and beloved vendors. It's just differentiating yourself in some way, shape, or form that gets your foot in the door. And then you got to go out there and you got to quite literally over deliver and under promise. And if you do that, you're going to be knocking the skin off the ball.
Absolutely. Very well said. Wes, such a pleasure having you on the show today. Where can the listeners find you? Where can they connect with you online?
Everything is Wes Wyatt. It's at Wes Wyatt, WESWYAT. If I'm not on that particular platform, it probably isn't something that's super popular. But those are the best ways to find me. And then hopefully one of these days you're thumbing through one of my books.
Absolutely. Wes, thank you so much for your time. Absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Zach.
Absolutely. And that will wrap up another inspiring episode of The Founder's Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go and connect with Wes on all of his social media. That was at Wes Wyatt, Weswyatt. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're looking to scale your business and you really want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we went from 0 to 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.